Hello everyone, we are from Group 5 and for the members we have me, myself, James, Saki and Ranga. We are from Salam Sutra and today we're going to talk about virtual machines, especially the one that we chose, VirtualBox. We are going to talk about the backgrounds on why we chose VirtualBox, the product knowledge, and lastly, the tutorial on how to use the VirtualBox. For starters, why VirtualBox and why we use VirtualBox instead of other virtual machines. The reasons are stated as follows. VirtualBox is a versatile open source virtualization tool offering several benefits. Cross-platform compatibility allows VirtualBox to run on Windows, macOS, Linux, and even Solaris. Free and open source, VirtualBox offers a cost-effective virtual machines with no licensing fees. User-friendly interface. VirtualBox gives you simple setup and management. Broad OS support. VirtualBox is compatible with Linux, Windows, macOS, and more. Snapshots. VirtualBox can easily save and restore virtual machine states, customizable and extendable. VirtualBox supports extensions for added functionality. Resource efficient. VirtualBox optimizes your CPU, RAM, and storage usage. Lastly, we have community support. VirtualBox offers access to forums, guides, and tutorials, ideal for testing, development, and learning. VirtualBox is a reliable choice for managing virtual machines. Like any other virtual machines, VirtualBox has its own advantages and disadvantages. Firstly, we're going to talk about the advantages, and that is free and open source. VirtualBox costs nothing, making it accessible to all the users. Cross-platform compatibility makes VirtualBox work seamlessly on Windows, macOS, Linux, and Solaris. Wide guest OS support. VirtualBox supports Linux, Windows, macOS, and other systems. Snapshots. VirtualBox can save and restore virtual machine states easily for testing and recovery. Extensibility. VirtualBox features like USB 3.0 and RDP support via the extension pack. Moving on to the disadvantages, first we have performance. VirtualBox, however, is slower than enterprise-grade tools for resource-intensive tasks. Limited enterprise features makes VirtualBox lacks high availability for clustering capabilities. And then we have hardware dependency. requires VTX or AMD, which can be problematic on older hardware. And then we have complex networking. Virtual boxes, advanced networking setups can be challenging to configure. And lastly, it's not ideal for production. It is better suited for personal or development use rather than enterprise production.
Okay, so before installing VirtualBox, we need to make sure that our virtualization is enabled. To check this, since I am on a Windows computer, I will press Ctrl, Shift, and Escape. This will open the Task Manager. Make sure that we choose the Performance tab in the top left corner. Right here, I can see that my virtualization is already enabled. If your computer has not enabled virtualization, you need to enable it via your computer's BIOS. Every computer's BIOS is different, so you need to check what kind of BIOS you have and follow the instructions that the BIOS gives you. After making sure that our virtualization is enabled, or enabling it via the computer's BIOS, we can go to virtualbox.org and press the download button right here. After that, choose the VirtualBox platform package that is what your operating system currently is. Since I am using a Windows computer, I am going to press Windows Host. After pressing Windows Host, the download should start. After downloading the VirtualBox, you should get this .exe file. Now let's open it. Click yes. Next. Accept the terms and license agreement. Next. Next. And yes. And yes. Next. And then install. This should take several minutes, so let's just wait. After the VirtualBox has finished installing, this window should pop up. Now I'm going to start Oracle VirtualBox and press finish. After pressing finish, you should see in your taskbar that there's this VirtualBox icon. And when we click it, the Oracle VirtualBox Manager is here. So now, to actually run a virtual machine, we would need a .iso file. A .iso file is basically a file that contains information on a CD or a disk that has an operating system in it. So for this tutorial, I'm going to use the most popular Linux distribution, which is Ubuntu. To download Ubuntu, we would need to head to ubuntu.com/download/desktop. Over here, we should just simply click this download 24.04.1 LTS, which is around 5.8 gigabytes. This should take a while, so let's just wait for it to download. So after downloading the .iso file, it should look a lot like this. So let's go back to the VirtualBox Manager. And as you can see, we have nothing on the left hand side because this is actually the list of our virtual machines. And to add that, let's just click on New or Control N. Now it's going to prompt us to name our virtual machine. For this video, I'm going to just title it Group 5. Now we are prompted to select our ISO file through here. We click Other and then select your ISO file wherever you store it in your computer. Open. And it's going to automatically detect what type of operating system it is. As you can see, Linux, Ubuntu. So it looks good now. So I'm going to move on. Now, an unintended install. So this is where you can customize what your login to the virtual machine is going to be. So I recommend changing the password and username for this, as this is the default option. And as for guest additions, I recommend clicking this on, as it gives a significant boost to the performance of the virtual machine. And then click the same ISO file that we used. As for hardware, this is where you want to allocate the memory and the processors to the virtual machines. Remember, this is based on your host machine. So if I crank this all the way up here, this will slow down my computer significantly, but it will boost the performance of the virtual machine. Same thing goes for the processors. So for the memory, I'm just going to put it at 4 gigabytes. And processors, let's put it at 4. As for the hard disk, this is where you decide how much storage or disk file and size you want to allocate the virtual machine. So the thing about this is actually dynamic. So this will only use, let's say, 25 gigabytes if you actually use 25 gigabytes in the virtual machine, unless of course you pre-allocate full size right here, which is going to give a significant performance boost. But for this video, I'm just going to use the dynamic one. So this all looks good. I'm going to press finish, and it'll give us the information about the virtual machine. And as you can see, the VirtualBox is starting now. If you get an error trying to run the Ubuntu, just go to Settings, click on Display, change the graphics controller to VBox SVGA, and just put the video memory to 128 megabytes, and click OK. And click the Group5 in this video, or whatever your VirtualBox name is, virtual machine name is, and double click it to run it. Click on Try or Install Ubuntu, press enter, and yes, it should be running properly. Okay, so after launching the virtual machine again with the settings I provided, given you had an error, this display should pop up. This is the account screen where you choose to log in. As you can see, this VBox user, if you remember in the installation steps, this is the default username. So we click it and we input the password, click enter, and there you go. This is the virtual environment for Ubuntu Linux. As you can see here, you can browse the files, go on Firefox, and do virtually anything you'd want, and virtually do anything you could with the Linux operating system. And for the VirtualBox itself, you can, here's a file, you can set your preferences, machine, you can tweak the machine again, take a snapshot, etc. You can also pause or reset the machine. And view, this is where you adjust the actual display. input, you customize your inputs. Devices, you customize your devices here, and if you need any more help, you can click the help option here. As for now, I'll show you how to go to full screen mode. So you click view and then full screen mode, switch. There you go, you are now fully immersed in the Ubuntu system. And if you want to head back, you simply hover your mouse into this bottom portion of the screen, click view again, full screen mode again, and there you are. You're now out of the full screen mode. And if you want to shut down the machine, you simply click the X icon on the top right corner and you power off the machine, or you can save the machine state. For now, let's power off the machine. Click OK, and there you go. If you want to launch it again, do the same thing again, which is to double click your saved virtual machine on the left hand corner of the screen.
Okay, moving on to the product knowledge. VirtualBox allows multiple operating systems to run simultaneously on one machine. On the common use cases, on the software testing, it tests compatibility across platforms. On the development, it isolated environments for application building. On the education and training, it teach and learn about OS and virtualization. On the legacy systems, it run older software to unsupported platforms. Moving on to the key features. VirtualBox has standout features such as the first one is the cross-platform support. It works on Windows, macOS, Linux, and Solaris. The second one is the White OS and its compatibility. It supports Linux, Windows, and even limited macOS functionality as guest OS. On the snapshots, it helps to save and revert the state of your virtual machines for testing or recovery. On the extension pack, it adds features like USB 3.0 support, PXE boot, and RDP for remote access. On the virtual networking, it set up NAT, bridge, or host-only adapters for advanced network configurations. And the last one is seamless mode. Combine host and guest environment for smooth workflows. So the ideal users is for the developers is to build, test, and deploy apps in isolated environments. IT professionals, it's for simulating and managing virtual environments. And the last one is for the educators and students. It's for teaching and learning about operating system and networking. It also could help for small businesses and tech enthusiasts. For the small business is to search cost effective for testing and training purposes, and the tech enthusiast is for running multiple OS without dual booting. Okay, so now comparison with competitors. VirtualBox versus VMware Workstation Player is the VirtualBox supports more guest operating system and offers better in features the free version. Meanwhile, the VMware is faster and better for enterprise needs. VirtualBox versus Microsoft Hyper-V. On the Microsoft Hyper-V, it's limited to Windows. Meanwhile, VirtualBox is cross-platform. On the overall, VirtualBox is perfect for personal or small-scale project due to its affordability and flexibility. Okay, moving on.